Topology's second-ranked MMA fighter of all time, Anderson Silva, has a strong case to be called the GOAT, and I'm on record saying he would be my own personal pick.
Ladies and gentlemen, the most dominant champion in the history of martial arts.
His career is highlighted by his incredible reflexes and punching power that his opponents claim felt like it came from a heavyweight fighter.
Champ's in trouble. It is all over!
What many people don't know is that he laced the gloves up in 1998, where he went on to lose his debut fight by knockout, but later returned to the ring in 2005 and took his now-honed MMA skills with him, where he went on to win by a second-round KO. It's weird to see Anderson so limited to one form of attack, but that's the name of the punching game.
The one and only MVP is just kicked down the door for boxing.
I thought Michael Venom Page would follow up Anderson Silva nicely. I mean, I can't be the only one that sees a striking resemblance in how they perform.
Corner, the London shoot fighter screaming at him, telling him to take it seriously, and there's a spinning kick. That is unbelievable.
Venom is currently 31 years old, and it's starting to feel like we might never see the best of him in the octagon. And it's probably due to his latest venture taking place in the boxing ring under the new David Haye Ringstar Promotional Company.
And Michael just handles everybody, professional boxers, good quality boxers in boxing.
Page fought in the ring just as he did in the octagon. Cocky, brash, athletic, but as usual, against an overmatched opponent.
This is the jab. Oh, what a right hand! And down goes Castano.
It's still unclear as to where his MMA career will go from here, but we do know he is scheduled to fight an unnamed opponent on the Haye Bellew undercard next month. So perhaps boxing is the way forward for him from here, but honestly, I'd advise against it.
And I want a belt, world championship in MMA. I want a world championship in boxing. I want to be with one of the first people to hold a belt in both combat sports.
For some reason, every countdown video I make recently has to feature merciless Ray Mercer in some way. Whether it's for his brutal knockouts or iron chin, he just can't stop popping up.
Feel good for Ray Mercer that his luck finally changed.
Finally, things changed for Ray Mercer. He gave it all he had. He was the aggressor. He even started to jab and move.
But today, he's featured for one of the best crossover wins in recent history.
But you know, I give MMA a lot of credit. I mean, me and my kids, we watch it 24/7, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, so I can sit there and my kids can say I'm a beast.
In 2007, the former heavyweight champion underwent his first MMA bout against the high-flying Kimbo Slice in an exhibition match where he was choked out in the first round. But incredibly, he bounced back 2 years later and knocked out the former UFC heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia in just 9 seconds.
He's absorbing the impact of these knees. That's doing some damage.
Right knee, left knee, and it is all over!
This was a huge upset at the time, as Sylvia was still regarded as a top 10 MMA heavyweight, and Mercer became the first man to ever knock him out. Really, it's quite incredible, but as they say, the last attribute to fade from the heavyweights is the punching power.
What he did is he didn't take me to the ground. What he should have did is take me to the ground. But he left me in my element to knock his ass out, and that's what I did.
On the flip side, defensive wizard and counterpunching specialist James Toney's experience in the octagon is one that I'm sure he'd like to forget about.
He would have to catch him absolutely perfect coming in for the very first punch, and if he didn't, Randy was going to just molest him.
When he decided to take up MMA in 2010, it seemed like nothing more than a quick money grab. He was fat, out of shape, reluctant to train, and pretty much disrespected the various disciplines that are essential in understanding mixed martial arts.
I hope you bring it. I ain't going nowhere. I'm knocking your ass out.
His opponent, Randy Couture, was long past his best himself, but it only took a mere 15 seconds for Randy to get his man down and eventually tap him out.
By putting it against his ear, he's going out. And it's all over!
Toney was one of the most skilled boxers to ever grace the ring. In his prime, he destroyed top fighter after top fighter, but it made his ego grow to the point of utter delusion as the years passed.
Did he ever hurt?
Who's next? I got milk, baby. Who's next?
Did all this good is still ain't dirty. Baby, I'm on you, so don't worry.
Over the years, we've seen 3 former female boxing world champions cross over to MMA. Mia St. John, known for her looks and Playboy appearance, Jessica Rakoczy, a 3-time world champion, and of course, the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm, who made a huge impact on both respected sports.
It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
Mia was known more for her looks rather than her boxing ability. She pretty much lost every meaningful fight in her career, but she did train hard and was always well-conditioned.
I'm from professional boxing, but now we're training for an MMA bout.
On Saturday, October 20th, I'm fighting my first cage fight.
Her MMA bout in 2008 was a successful one, but it was against a debutante with virtually no fighting background.
At the Cow Palace in San Francisco, and it's on pay-per-view.
And to think, it was on the pay-per-view platform. Geez, I thought Hay vs. Harrison was bad value for money. Jessica Rakoczy is a name that is probably more familiar to MMA fans. She was selected to participate in the 2013 season of The Ultimate Fighter, but never really made an impact.
How many belts do you want?
48.
Yeah, let's get 48.
Last but not least, Holly Holm is hands down the most successful crossover star. Despite being a top 3 pound-for-pound female in boxing, she was never given much props by the fans. But thankfully for her, and all female fighters in general, the UFC did a great job in promoting these girls and gave Holm a solid platform to showcase her skills, which eventually led to one of the biggest upsets in UFC history.
Lots of tears, lots of blood, sweat, and tears, I'll tell you what, but it sure was worth it.
I suppose when you break down boxing as an art form, the closest thing to it is K1 and kickboxing. Sure, it involves a few kicks, but overall the rules are roughly the same. I guess it's no surprise we've seen just about every legend from K1 eventually take to the boxing game. Rick Rufus, Tyrone Spong, Jerome LeBanner, and Samart Payakaroon all had prestigious kickboxing careers, but at this current time, they failed to really leave a stamp on the boxing scene. Rufus is arguably the greatest American kickboxer ever, winning title after title for almost a 20-year span, but his boxing record was underwhelming. Jerome LeBanner is one of the best punchers in kickboxing history, and that correlated better for him in the ring with an unbeaten record of 6-0. Samart Payakaroon is by far the best transition Muay Thai fighter ever, as he became the WBC Junior Featherweight Champion with a surprise KO over iron-chinned Lupe Pintor in 1986. Payakaroon is also regarded as the greatest Muay Thai fighter ever. His style was incredible to watch. You couldn't hit him in the backside with a handful of buckshot, as the old-timers would say. Tyrone Spong is a newly transitioned fighter that is currently undefeated with some hype flowing about his name. Others like Chris Algieri, Dillian White, Jarrell Miller, and Lucas Brown were also former kickboxers, but never compiled the legacy close to the one Spong has.
No, I was out of the game for a bit, but I'm back at it. I'm doing boxing now full time.
Our next fighters take us back to the days where a crossover wasn't such a weird thing.
There was always that thought, like what would happen if a good striker fought a good wrestler? Would a judo guy be able to beat a karate guy?
UFC 1, the very first event, captured the public's attention for being a strange, one-of-a-kind event to finally get the answers behind what is actually the greatest fighting art. Boxers, kickboxers, sumo wrestlers, just about every popular fighting form of today were put to the test, and without taking too much credit away from the legend Royce Gracie, who went on to win the event using his jiu-jitsu, they didn't exactly have the best boxers/kickboxers to represent the art form. Art Jimerson, now famous for fighting Gracie with one glove on, was nothing more than a journeyman before the event. After he lost, he returned to boxing and got his ass handed to him for another 10 years. Kevin Rosier was an established kickboxer and better suited for the tournament, but was beaten in the semifinals and later became a well-known journeyman boxer in America. Looking back, it's funny to imagine anyone else other than Gracie winning the event. While there have been many great and successful crossovers like Holly Holm and Ray Mercer, transitioning into a new sport has a long and tragic story to tell as well.
It involves the impact of head trauma on the pituitary gland, a pea-sized organ that secretes many of the body's most important hormones.
More recently, the UFC veteran Tim Hague, who held a win over the unbeaten Pat Barry at UFC 98, suffered some pretty brutal KO losses on his way out of MMA during the late 2000s. He decided to take up boxing in 2011 and started to lose even more fights by KO. Unfortunately, his family's world came crashing down in 2017 after he was KO'd for the last time by Adam Braidwood, which led to a brain hemorrhage and eventually his death. A similar thing happened to the very talented athlete and former boxer Rondell Clark in 2017. He was competing in just his second amateur MMA bout, where he ran out of gas in the third round and was unable to defend himself against a plethora of blows that led to his unfortunate death. It's truly tragic, and may both of them rest in peace.
Butterbean is a fighter. He's a very tough fighter. I mean, he didn't get to where he's at now if he wasn't tough.
Eric Ashe, better known as Butterbean, was a ferocious competitor in any and every sport he competed in. Boxing, kickboxing, MMA, even a bit of WWE.
7 seconds left. There's the right hand punch. It's over. Goodbye. It's over. Butterbean with a first-round knockout.
As a boxer, Butterbean built up the reputation as king of the four-rounders by most media outlets. For me personally, I prefer a firefighter's nightmare, as it's rumored he knocked out every fireman from New York to Vegas.
There goes Monaco.
On a serious note, this guy could bang. I mean, really bang. He got out of the boxing game for good in 2013 with 58 knockouts to his name. But during that time, he also floated about in K1 and Pride, where he had some notable victories over Yusuke Fujimoto, James Thompson, and the ridiculously huge Zulu Zeno, all of which make me miss the Pride Fighting Championships that little bit more.